Welcome back to Richard Reviews. Who doesn't love a good trilogy? I love them enough to make a video about it. You can write and produce the same people time and again and do it well and have some great results. And ranking this 10 trilogies and picking which ones to be in it was challenging, but I really enjoyed it. Anyway, let's get into it. Number 10. Die Hard. The first Die Hard was excellent. The second movie was good, and the third movie finished the trilogy really well. Bruce Willis nailed it as John McClane. In an era of action stars, this allowed him to shine as brightly as anybody, and it made his career. The original Die Hard started a trend where you have a movie, whatever setting, one person against a group of terrorists, mercenaries, or whatever. It would be called Die Hard on a Plane, Die Hard Up a Mountain, or Die Hard on a Ship, all trying to live up to the original Die Hard in a skyscraper. The series does really well, continually having the main villain interact with John McClane, building the antagonising relationship between the two of them, right up until the conclusion. They are smart and ruthless and have a great plan until a beat cop from New York gets in the way and ruins it, time and time again. Hans Gruber is an excellent villain. Colonel Stewart is decent, but you have the best villain in the series in Jeremy Irons as Simon Gruber. He all but wins. There's only bad luck that gets him and his henchmen caught at the very end. These three films fully deserve to be on the list. Number 9. The Pirates of the Caribbean. There's a heap of talent in these films, and they all do a really good job. Without question, Johnny Depp puts the film on his back and carries it like a lifeguard at the beach. In this series, he owns the character of Jack Sparrow as much as any actor has owned a role in the last 25 years. Orlando Bloom and Keira Knightley are both really good, and they also bring plenty to their roles as well. In isolation, The Curse of the Black Pearl is a really good story. Barbossa is a better villain than a hero in film 3. My favourite part is how Jack steals the ship right under Norrington's nose by getting him to raise the sails at the very start. The second and third movies are one long story. The highlight for me is where Jack helping Will Turner defeat Davy Jones to get control of the Flying Dutchman at his own expense. In fairness, this is a really good trilogy. Number 8. The Godfather trilogy. This entry is on the list because of how good the first two films are and how they drag the third, somewhat weaker film across the line. The talent acts in this series is incredible. Some of the all-time greats: Brando, Pacino, Duvall, and Robert De Niro. Michael is the centre of the story. He's an ex-Marine who doesn't want to be part of the family business. His brothers and his father are already neck-deep in it. But fate has other ideas. When Sonny, his older brother, makes a small misstep in the meeting with the Turk, what is set in motion almost destroys his family and pulls Michael into the family business he will never truly leave. His father, Vito, is the quiet but powerful leader of the family who rose from an immigrant kid to the most powerful and smart mob boss in all of America, narrowly surviving assassination and betrayal. Everybody knows about the horse's head scene. My favourite is when the traitor, who almost gets Vito killed, is taken out. And the assassin says, "Leave the gun and take the cannoli." That was an entirely improvised line. By the end, Michael has assumed complete control of the family and beaten down the other families. But along the way, he made a huge enemy who will come back to haunt him in Hyman Roth. The Godfather Part 2 takes things to a higher level, as we see Vito as a child, watching his mother killed and then fleeing to America from Sicily, and his establishment as the ruthless man who will hold all of organised crime in the palm of his hand. At the same time, Michael narrowly escapes assassination and tracks down those responsible, including close to home, with his competent brother Fredo, who betrayed him. But everything leads to one person, Hyman Roth, who has been pulling the strings quietly, trying to destroy Michael, killing his close friend, Mo Green, in part. Both stories end with more death, with Michael killing Hyman Roth and his brother Frodo. But the part I remember most is Vito, after making a deal with the local mob boss, who isn't as powerful as he seems, slowly stalks him through New York to assassinate him and to take his place in a well thought out sequence where he has thousands of witnesses that he didn't do anything in the middle of a parade. The Godfather Part 3 is an okay film, but is a long way behind the first two. The sad ending with Michael alone because of the choices he's made. And at the end of the movie, sitting on a chair in his garden, retired and alone, he takes his last breath and slides off his seat. That's quite good. But this movie was a cash grab, and cashing on the legacy of the first two. But there you go. These films revolutionised mafia movies and set the bar for all the films that came afterwards. Number 7, the Cornetto Trilogy. Shaun of the Dead, Hot Fuzz, and The World's End. Nick Frost and Simon Pegg as a duo are genuinely hilarious. Their loosely connected trilogy, the Cornetto Trilogy, has been some of the funniest films I've seen in the last 20 years. Starting with Shaun of the Dead, I couldn't stop laughing along with this film. Why wouldn't you hide in a pub during the zombie apocalypse? Not that they didn't also do the serious stuff well, especially with Shaun's mum after she'd got bitten. Hot Fuzz is also absolutely hilarious and pokes fun at small towns in the UK with their pursuit of the Village of the Year and the lengths they go to win it. Once again, Frost and Pegg knock it out of the park as it turns into a comedy buddy cop film. Timothy Dalton is also brilliant in Hot Fuzz. The World's End, a solid finish to the trilogy, and who doesn't like a good pub crawl? But it turns out cranky aliens have taken over your hometown. One of the good things, you can watch these films individually, but they're really great to binge one after the other. Number 6, Batman, the Christian Bale trilogy. There have been many Batman films over the years, some good and some with bat nipples. Christopher Nolan did such an excellent job with his run directing Batman that at a time when DC was losing to Marvel at every turn, this trilogy bucked the trend and produced a trilogy that the MCU and Disney only wish they could make. These are my only comic book movies to make the top 10. Starting with Batman Begins, you see just how corrupted Gotham has become. With the deaths of Martha and Thomas, full of rage, Bruce joins the League of Shadows. Intent on not letting them destroy Gotham, he returns after destroying their temple, and becomes the Dark Knight. Gotham's issues are not over, as the League returns, intent on destroying all of Gotham. With Liam Neeson leading them, they are a credible threat, and the conclusion is brilliant. The Dark Knight is all about Heath Ledger, who knocks it out of the park as a Joker. Even though he ends up in prison, he wins, creating Harvey Two-Face. When Batman must pick who to save, the Joker has beaten him. Sadly, Heath Ledger passed away and could not be in the final film. The Dark Knight Rises ends the trilogy so well. The threats get getting bigger for Batman, and he must return from a broken back to save Gotham one last time. Bane and Talia al Ghul make great villains in the final film, with Tom Hardy and Marion Cotillard doing fantastically. It would be fantastic if comic films were this good more often, instead of being so predictable. Number 5, number 1 for a lot of people, the original Star Wars. You can't have a top 10 trilogies list without including the original Star Wars. The original series holds a special place in the hearts of many people of all ages. It was revolutionary and groundbreaking, and it absolutely deserves its iconic place in cinematic history. There are lines in the film people know without even seeing the films. A New Hope sets the scene of the universe really well, with the tiny rebellion trying its best against the almost all-powerful Galactic Empire. The Empire Strikes Back has the iconic line, "I am your father." That would have shocked the audience when they saw it for the first time. And it finishes with Return of the Jedi, which brings the sinister Palpatine to the fore at the end of the trilogy. I enjoyed the hero's journey that Luke goes on, from being a farmer with no idea of his legacy and learning the ways of the Force in the first film, to the overconfident Jedi in Empire Strikes Back before becoming the wise and mature master in Return of the Jedi. I could go on about how good the first two films are on this trilogy, but I think most people know already. Number 4, Indiana Jones. Oh look, it's Harrison Ford again. There has never been, or will be, a treasure hunter movie franchise anything like Indiana Jones. 3 truly entertaining films that are still really good to watch today as they were when they came out. Raiders of the Lost Ark, the antagonistic relationship formed right at the start between Indiana Jones and Belloc and his Nazi handlers is great. In their hunt for the Ark of the Covenant, Marion Ravenwood is more than just a love interest, often equal to Jones throughout the film. The start with the escape from the Trapfield Cave is a great scene. The Temple of Doom has some iconic parts. The only letdown is Willie Scott. It's helpless from us the entire film and comes across as somewhat annoying. The ride down the mine is very entertaining, and the conclusion on the rope bridge is great. Finally, we have The Last Crusade, introducing Sean Connery as Indy's father. I found this to be the most entertaining of the 3 films. The series has already had quite a few comedy moments, but Connery, who wasn't really known for it, brings much more humour to the film. And the entire act inside the cave at the end is fantastic. Number 3, Back to the Future. There's a reason why one of my dream cars is a DeLorean. Let's face it, it's not a particularly good car, but I wanted the car from Back to the Future. When they made these films, they did it just right. Time travel adventure was a lot of fun. Doc and Marty are just great together. All the movies are great stories that are well tied together. The final movie in the trilogy is the best film, and finishes off the trilogy really well. So in the first film, young Marty goes back to the 50s. Whilst trying to get home, he interferes with his own timeline. He must try and fix it before he can return, or his parents won't get together, and he'll never exist. Marty does get home, just in time to see that his family's life has improved vastly for the better, and he saves Doc. The scene I remember most is Marty fills in for the band on guitar and plays music years ahead of his time. In the second film, Doc tells Marty he has to go to the future to save the past. Off to 2015 they go. Where were my hoverboards? This time, it's all about taking knowledge back to the past and using it to alter the future. In this case, Biff has all the sports results from the future to make himself incredibly rich and powerful. I always remember the highest part of the film, when Marty on the hoverboard trying to get the sports almanac away from Biff. Moments before Biff gets covered in manure, the DeLorean gets struck by lightning, and Doc is sent back in time to 1885. In the third film, Marty goes back in time to rescue Doc from 1885, and immediately gets stuck in the past along with Doc and the DeLorean. Unable to get up to 88 miles an hour, they must hijack a train and push the car fast enough to get them back home. What a way to end the series. Marty makes it home, and the DeLorean is destroyed by a train in 1985. Doc and Clara turn up on their new time machine, a train, and hand Marty a blank photo telling him the timeline is fixed and to make a good life for himself. The series is just good, honest fun from start to finish, and well deserves its place on this list. Number 2, Rockies from 1, 2, and 3. Second place, and almost the best trilogy ever, Rocky. It's an ongoing franchise up to 9 films now. Rocky isn't about boxing. It's about interesting people building relationships. Rocky and Adrian are the best couple in cinematic history and the best love story. That's my hill to die. One of the things that makes them a great couple is that Rocky brings Adrian out of her shell, and her transformation over the series is huge. And Rocky wouldn't be the boxer he is without the faith and support that she shows him. From the first date to the clumsy proposal in the zoo, they are the centre of each other's world. Boxing is still a big part of the films, and they may not look like the professional boxer of today, but they tell a great story. Apollo looks like the confident seasoned pro he plays. Rocky, the stubborn brawler who doesn't know how to lose. And Clubber Lang looks like the guy who inspired him, Mike Tyson. From the training montages to Rocky getting motivated by those around him, and the exciting boxing at the end of each of the films, the first 3 Rocky films are almost the perfect trilogy. The series lost its quality when they wrote out Apollo Creed. Carl Weathers was just brilliant. Number 1, The Lord of the Rings. There were a lot of very unique things that happened that made Lord of the Rings so great. Firstly, it is the only major trilogy filmed all at the same time. And Sir Peter Jackson was given plenty of money and plenty of time to film his Clan in Glory. It gave him an advantage knowing that he could make 3 films with distinct starts, middle and ends, and then have them all tie into each other at the same time. New Line showed him a lot of faith, which was repaid time and time again, with them winning 17 Oscars and over 400 of the major awards out of the 800 they were nominated for, making it the most awarded film trilogy in history, and deservedly so. Secondly, casting. They got really lucky with people who dropped out of the production, and their second choices filling in with their own style, arguably better than their first picks. With Sean Connery, as great as he is, declining the role of Gandalf, and Ian McKellen stepping in to pick it up, and Viggo Mortensen coming in at the very last minute to land his greatest role as Aragorn. You also can't understand just how good Weta Workshop was in the case of creating these films. I don't think a special effects company anywhere else in the world at the time could have done such a good job. New Zealand is also the perfect location to film this series, with everything lining up to produce something special that will be remembered for years to come. The Fellowship of the Ring starts with the iconic introduction from Cate Blanchett, and the Lord of the Rings marathon begins. With Frodo's reluctance to take the ring all the way to Rivendell, and Sam's dutiful support to get him there. Once the 9 are formed and set out to destroy the ring, the pace picks up. My favourite part of the Fellowship is when they reach Amon Hen, and from the second Boromir finds Frodo alone and begins to make his play for the ring, he goes from requesting to begging to threatening to attacking Frodo and to remorse, all inside 60 seconds. To the twin endings of Frodo pulling Sam from the water and Boromir dying in Aragorn's arms is as close to cinematic perfection as you'll ever see. The Two Towers, sometimes considered the weakest of the 3 films. I don't think so. To me, is the meat in the sandwich. Gandalf is a highlight for me, freeing Theoden's mind, and then the final battle at Helm's Deep is arguably the cinematic greatest fantasy battle ever. The Return of the King is the cherry on top. They're going from Sam and Frodo's challenging final stages of their journey to the rest of the Fellowship doing everything they can to stay alive and draw the Dark Lord's attention. Theoden's speech on the Pelennor Fields to rally his troops is great, but for me, Sam carrying Frodo up the final stretch of Mount Doom to get him across the finish line is the most memorable part of the films. I don't compare things to Lord of the Rings, as I don't think anything else measures up. It's the best, and what would I give to see it all again for the first time? Bit of a long video. Thank you for joining me. If you haven't already, please leave us a subscribe and a like, and we'll see you next time.